How's it going, guys?
I really don't know.
You don't know?
No.
Why?
It's just been such a crazy week.
It has.
It has. And I think part of it is adjusting to being back last week and my annual sinus infection.
Oh, yeah. How are you feeling? You seem better.
Better. And then this week just flew by.
It did. It was so busy. We had 2 bishops' masses here, one on Sunday and then one yesterday. The Catholic Schools Mass was yesterday, so we had a boatload of children from across the diocese and their administrative faculty and priests.
And it was a beautiful
It was a beautiful Mass.
It was a nice Mass.
I seen that I saw more priests this year than last year. I don't know. That was much impressive.
Yeah, there was a nice crowd.
And also religious congregations around us.
Yes.
Yes, that was nice to see that.
That was nice. And also what I liked, and not to speak ill of last year's choir, because they did a beautiful job, but they sang the Mass parts in Latin, and I felt frustrated by that because here you have a church filled with young people who go to Mass every month and participate in the Mass, but the Mass parts are in English. And now they come together with their bishop and they sang Latin Mass parts, and the kids just sat there. Yeah. But this year, the choir sang the Mass parts in English. All their music was beautiful.
Beautiful.
And both choirs did a beautiful job. Please know that. Both choirs did a beautiful job. But by singing in English, I saw more of the faculty and the students participating.
It was some kind of joyful celebration.
The music was beautiful. And especially, sitting in the sanctuary and hearing that music just surround us. It was like, the great cloud of witnesses there.
Yeah, it was nice. Okay.
And Jen was one of the ushers. She led up with the communion procession. It was so
I was going to ask. I thought that the Mass was at 11, so I came over at 10:30 to get there early and help, and then the Mass started, and I was like, "What?" I thought I saw the little nun who came here and did the mission.
Yes, Sister Lisa was here.
Oh, did she talk to the kids?
Well, I think she was involved somewhat, but I got to talk to her and everything, and it was so good. I commented, I said, "Oh, sister, we're still talking about the fact you got more than we did in the collection." And she started to laugh, and she was very, very grateful, and she's getting ready to head back to Africa.
Oh, cool, lucky girl.
And I told her that, what, you want to go with her?
Yeah.
Okay,
I've wanted to be a missionary since I was in 7th grade.
Okay, we'll pack your bags.
Just with one ticket.
One way. Thank you, Father. I'm fine with that. Ready to go.
Yeah, but I don't think I want to inflict you on Africa.
Frank couldn't even hold it in.
But anyway, but I told her we'll keep her in our prayers.
All right, cool. Now the synod, speaking of foreign places,
synod.
And the Amazon is going on. What news from there?
Well, I've been trying to find some information, and I don't think there's too much legitimate coverage of the synod. There's a lot of negative coverage of the synod by different groups, especially in this country, and every now and then they drag out a cardinal or a bishop who has a critical comment about what's going on in the synod. But I think it's all based on bias on their part and their misinterpretation. I did read the Holy Father's opening comments and to the Synod Fathers and the participants, and he even shared that it saddened him that there was criticism that during the Mass there were individuals, indigenous people, who had hats on, or headdresses with feathers.
Yes.
And and I saw them in the Mass because I watched it.
That's a nice Mass.
It was a beautiful Mass. And I guess my first reaction when I said, you know, first of all, I think some of these people have too much time on their hands.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and really this is a direct quote. Are you taking care of parishes? Are you visiting the sick? Or are you just sitting around a table? And I know we're sitting around a table, but this is maybe 5-10 minutes a week. The rest of the time we're taking care of the people of God. I don't know who you people are taking care of. But I loved how the Holy Father said, you know, kind of comparing the feathers with the beretta. And trust me, fathers, if you really want to see yourselves, check it out when you're wearing a beretta.
We have a problem in our church, I know in the world too, but you know, we're talking about the church, where people seem to think that unity means uniformity. And we are such a huge, diverse church with so many beautiful cultures, and I don't understand why people want everybody just to like fit into one little box. God created diversity, and it's beautiful.
And I think, and especially today is the feast of Saint John the 23rd.
Oh, okay.
And this is his feast day because this is the day the council opened, the Second Vatican Council. And I think that the documents of the council are still guiding us and are still calling us to see the role of the church as engaging in society and not dominating society. You know, we went through that period where the church did dominate society, and there were historical reasons for it. But we don't have those historical reasons now. What we need to do is engage society in order to bring Christ to society. And therefore it was very disheartening because they see the Synod as kind of selling out, and the indigenous people of the Amazon are going to take over the traditions of the church. And that was never the case. That was never the case. But you can't suppress those cultures without destroying, let's say, children of God. And therefore that need for engagement, that need to see, you know, because, you know, God forbid if people realize half of what we grew up with was the merger of various tribes entering into the classical world and merging with what was there and evolving into the church that some of these people think was the epitome of the kingdom. And really, it was a stage along the development of the church as the bride of Christ.
When the apostles went out and started preaching the gospel in the very early days, they didn't go and say, all right, everybody conform to exactly what we're doing. They had a council right away and said, how are we going to adapt to who we are to the people that we're trying to bring in? Because it wasn't fitting with their understanding of who they were in the world. I don't know how we lost that.
There is a term that is interculturization.
Enculturization.
Yeah. And we forget that the elements that the Christianity used in order to incorporate Christian elements to that culture, they took from them who they are, who they were, and they, little by little, that was Christianized. So everything that we have is pagan. Many things that we have in the Christian church, and then by the time that became a Christian symbol, I think. I don't know if I am wrong.
No, you're right. I look at December 25th.
Yeah.
I mean, our scholars are telling us that, you know, if you look at what's presented in the in the scriptures, the chances are that Jesus was born maybe more in the spring than in December. But, you know, the church, the early church saw, you know, a pagan feast of the coming of the sun as being more theologically connected to the birth of the Son of God, and therefore we end up with December 25th. Now, there are Christian sects that will not celebrate Christmas because of that. But the vast majority of Christians, oh, sweet Jesus, if you don't say Merry Christmas, you know, you're a heretic. But the reality is that that is a sign of enculturization. So it was done 2,000 years ago. It can't be done now? Please.
Exactly.
God is bigger than some of the people that are complaining about the Synod.
And it's amazing. So I had the chance to go to Rome reports,
Yes.
Rome report, and read the comments in English. Really disappointed.
Yes.
Then I went to the Hispanic section of Roman report, different way to approach this reality. So really is some kind of, we don't understand what, we think that what we have here is that's it. There is any other thing to do outside of these box. No, there are other things that we need to think. And the way that in the English, I'm sorry, but it's true. In the English way people speak, it was really like tough comments, and I don't know. But the Spanish, they approach in a different, positive way.
And maybe that's why the Holy Father says that he considers it an honor when he gets criticized by Americans. Because, you know, and let's face it, America, it's not all about us. But it's going to take us a while to realize that. Another thing is the distortion of the emphasis on ecology. Now, it blows my mind because John Paul II, St. John Paul II, made St. Francis the patron saint of ecology and protecting the environment. Benedict XVI was given the name the Green Pope. Now Francis is saying we need to take care of our common home, and everybody's calling him a socialist and a communist and someone who wants to destroy Western civilization. It just doesn't, you know, it doesn't hold water. So we're praying for the Synod Fathers, we're praying for those participating in the Synod, and of course we're praying for our Holy Father, and we'll see. We'll see how the Holy Spirit brings forth the discernment that is taking place.
And speaking of distortion, there was a claim that the Pope said that Jesus isn't God.
Sweet Jesus.
Sweet Jesus, who is God. And the Pope didn't say that. He was talking to some...
Well, this is 95 plus atheist journalists.
And it was years ago.
And it was years ago, and it surfaced now, which you sometimes have to ask yourself, who released it to the press? But our Holy Father...
Who released it to the press?
Now.
Yeah.
With a synod.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, it's not just in America we're dealing with fake news. Yeah. But I think we need to realize that the Holy Father knows very well and teaches very strongly that Jesus is God, and that there is a distortion campaign going on by certain groups within our society and within our world to undermine the unity of the Church.
And I read also that they show how many times Pope Francis have said, Jesus is God, Jesus is God, Jesus is God, Jesus is God, and wrote it, yes. Yeah. So there is no space to think something different.
No, the dude remembered it wrong or misunderstood it, and it's just, it's so frustrating.
I think part of it is you know, he doesn't use a pad, he doesn't use any type of, you know, taping device to record his interviews. It was some time ago. And he's also an atheist, so the concept of a human person being the incarnated Word of God and being God would be very difficult for him to comprehend.
Yep. It's difficult for us to comprehend, and we believe it.
not to mention he was an Italian.
They don't listen.
They don't.
All right, now we got two parish things. The Guadalupe torches are coming here for the kickoff, right?
Yes.
For the kickoff on October 26th, which is a Saturday at the 4:30 Mass. That is a beautiful celebration. Why don't you tell us about that, Father? You were kind of like in charge of it last year as far as the parish went, right? Because Father was away. So.
Oh, he was away.
Wasn't he? Didn't
yes,
you? Yeah, right.
It was it's a beautiful ceremony. So it's amazing because they started with 4 churches 4 years ago, and now we have 100 and something churches.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, it's a huge. It's growing up. Different communities are involved. So it's amazing. So we receive the torches on
the 26th.
The 26th. Then each each church is sent to different parishes. I don't remember how many churches we have right now.
I think there's 16.
16.
Last year there were 16.
16.
I think.
So, and then it's sent to each church for a week. They have reflection, they have prayers, they have different activities around these churches, which represents faith, hope, that Our Lady of Guadalupe she brought when she appears at the Tepeyac. So it's a beautiful experience. So it's growing up, it's bringing community together, so it's an amazing celebration. Then when we have the Mass in Trenton.
The Mass in Trenton will be December 7th.
After this time of praying in different churches, we will meet at the cathedral December 7th.
But we begin with a procession.
With a procession.
And they go all the way through the streets of Trenton.
Yes.
You know, the torches and the floats and everything. It's truly beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Good. All right, so there will be more information on that as we get closer, because we're going to have the torches here as well.
Yes.
So, and one more thing is that Monday is Columbus Day, and we have shortened hours that day. So the office will only be open until 3. Normally Monday we're open till 8, but we will only be open till 3. And it'll be a skeleton crew. So,
that has nothing to do with Halloween.
No. There will be a skeleton crew that day as well, but we'll be skeletons. All right, that's it. I think.
That's it.
Yeah.
We'll see you in church.
See you.
God bless.